hold the line to me. I don't feel these rappers, all they lies is hypocrisy. Ain't no competition, ain't no rivalry. Niggas think I'm playing, I don't hear one word they saying, this shit light work. Think Muhammad one of us, he might lose his life first. Suckle up and stay alert. Another cop can stretch the nigga. He ain't demon, this an exorcism. Watch I bless the nigga. You took that oath in blood, then you know I'm gonna get active with you. Fuck the opposition, I see vision. Let me paint the picture. Rappers claim they spit and I ain't listening. Is it effective? If revenge was a woman, now I scope that bitch like Jake. So I war, we gon' run the summer. It's gon' be historical. Thought they making plays, made them niggas call the audible. Ask who run this shit, but that question is rhetorical. Bitch, I'm the one, me cookies with the oil. I'ma get him crack as hell, should've never kidnapped my family. I can't do that. Bet I be the last nigga standing. Do a life sentence for my niggas, pray you understand me. I might put a switch on this Glock and call it young baby. How you real trigger know them dots? You a bird feeder, claiming he a demon. What's a demon to a cold leader? When he says something, I ain't hear this shit like it ain't on who got the gun, it's on who gon' up that fight first. I turn a bad situation to a game change. Bring soldiers from the dead, just raised up the chains. 10 shots, I'ma look like Aaron Jones when I run it. Never bite the hand that feeds you, you'll never get that hand back. He bitching about 10%, I don't wanna hear none of that. He dropping sword, fuck him, just make sure you get that cover back. Look around, he ain't with us, probably cause he never was. Now my chin like you with the angels for your brothers. Everybody wanna be Richard Porter, God kill him like Alpo. Play if he want, it's laying in the trunk like Lee Malvo. I'm a certified rubber's ass nigga, I am not a toy. Hey, I with that hollow sign, yeah, this the rim accord. Feel like Gullah Jack when I'm in Fayetteville, you feel your boy. Still up on my bread, still I think that's all that I do. The way I get it, boy, lost, they gon' start to call him Elroy. Fuck his game, pop out on them demons like I'm Hellboy.
They killed, give me Isaiah 14 and 21. They did the same thing to my people. So that you said that they put millions of my people. Yes, you said so.
Should a murderer go to jail for murdering?
Absolutely.
Should a thief go to jail when he steals?
Absolutely.
Should a robber pay back the money he robbed?
Absolutely.
So why shouldn't the white man pay for what he did?
That's right.
One day you'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog.
I'm in a hell of a hole, was never expected to grow. Just obstacles set in the road, that a result of me selling my soul. The story I'm telling is cold, but yet it's what everyone knows. The white man's the devil is known. America was never a home, only a place of captivity, safe facility, hating, disfigure me. They claim that I'm lazy, be killing me. Maybe the slavery draining my energy. 400 years and counting. The trail of my tears is countless. Main fact that I'm here is astounding, but I can't wait till this shit is surrounded. Ready to tangle my king and the angel, be ready to rap. Crack in the sky, nuclear missiles will make it official. I'm capturing every cracker surviving. Put them all in chains where they need to be. Slavery for me. And let the whole world see that with them in the cage is safer in the streets. Put the dog on a leash. Get resolved for the beast. 144, get the ruler show, we could all be at peace. As soon as the trumpets are sound, your kingdom we busting it down. The only way justice is found, the time for your judgment is now.
You'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog.
trust in my blood slim. It won't be no compromise. Now it's time to feed the worms. Watch his body turn to flies. I clutch iron while you trust the lies. The next Glock I buy gon' be Gen 5. I get it customized. And sending shots off like farewell. Praying payback come back around like a carousel. Still remember your Honda's words ringing in my head like bells. Said you in his body, you fit the Lord, fuck the cartel. Triangle choke, apply pressure to the game like I did Vondale. Payback's a bitch in a dress, she a bombshell. Revenge is served cold, I just hope they making oxtail. Glock fresh out the box, I swear it got that new car smell. Made myself a target in the world of mad shooters. There was design 5 for our babies to pass through in the day of our king's reign. I'll be overzealous. They bought my jealous, I bought brand new parabellums.
You'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog.
One thing I got in this lifestyle, that's my boss, bitch, and my wordplay. Hey, when I get mad, turn the Scarface. How when I get mad, turn the Sharface. Yeah. Fuck. Hey, tell me how it is, tell me how you feel, tell me what it is, tell me what you wanna do.
All right, shalom, y'all, Bashim, y'all, shah, barakatah to the brothers. Shalom, shamar, atam, Bashim, y'all, shah to the sisters. We are the ISUPK, started out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohanan. We've been teaching blacks, Hispanics, and natives their true identity from the Bible since 1969. Right. This is tonight's Wednesday night law class. Can I get Matthew 5 and 16? Come. What?
Matthew 5 and 16.
Yeah, so what we about to see right here, Christ is about to let you know the criteria basically to knowing the Father, loving the Father, and glorifying the Father. So tonight we're going to show you that the law, statutes, and commandments have not been abolished.
Right.
The law, statutes, and commandments are going to be here forever, even when the kingdom does get here. You got that verse from me, y'all?
Come.
Do I?
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 5 and verse 16. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven.
So here, this is Christ speaking, as we all know. He's saying, let your light so shine before men. So we would have to see, okay, what light he's speaking of. So I'm going to go ahead and read that verse one more time for you guys. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. So Christ is saying, let your light shine before men, so they may see your good works, and it glorifies your Father which is in heaven. So to see what light Christ is speaking about in this verse, we have to pull a precept. All right, if somebody in the class could pull for me Isaiah 8 and 20, Baba Kusha.
Come.
So this is going to be a precept for what light Christ is speaking of, basically. You know, because we can't just go and tell you Christ is black or Christ didn't do away with the law without showing you.
We got to show you precepts. That's how we understand the Bible. And this is how we also know more than the ancients, as the Bible would say.
Come on, sir. This is Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 20. To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them.
Read that for me again.
To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them.
Okay, so Isaiah is saying right here, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, there is no light in them. So now we see that's the light that Christ was speaking about in Matthew 5 and 16. So if I could get somebody to pull Matthew 5 and 17, Baba Kusha. And this right here is going to be Christ still speaking. And Christ is going to clear up some more things, showing you that the law is not abolished and it's never going to pass.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 5 and verse 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
But to what?
Fulfill.
But to what? Fulfill. So most people will tell you Christ already fulfilled the law. Most people will tell you, all right, Christ did everything in the law, but Christ didn't come back yet. And most people will tell you because we're under the grace, we don't have to keep the law anymore. But right here, we see in Christ saying he didn't come to destroy the law. He didn't come to abolish anything. He didn't come to destroy the law or the prophets. He came to fulfill it.
Exactly.
Let me get the very next verse, Baba Kusha.
Verse 18. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass.
Till what pass?
Heaven and earth pass. One jot or one tittle. So in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled.
So here Christ is saying it again. Till all be fulfilled, not one jot or one tittle will pass from the law. He's also saying till heaven and earth pass. And when we look around, earth and heaven is still here.
Exactly.
It's still abiding. So that means the law, statutes, and commandments are still abiding to this day. Now let me get verse 19, Baba Kusha.
Verse 19. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least.
He shall be called the what?
The least.
The what?
The least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven.
So here Christ is also saying, if you do and teach to keep the law, statutes, and commandments, you're teaching to be great in the kingdom of heaven when it gets here. But he's saying if you're going around telling anybody they could break one of these least commandments, that you're teaching for them to be least in the kingdom of heaven. Let me get Slakia. Let me get Matthew 19:17, Slakia. And this is still going to be Christ speaking, and he's going to give you some more of the criteria.
Slakia said 19 and 17.
Come. Slakia, read 19 and 16 first.
This is Matthew chapter 19 and verse 16. And behold, one came and said unto him, Good master, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life?
So one of the disciples is asking Christ, what can he do to have eternal life? And he's calling Christ a good master. Now let's see what Christ said to him.
Verse 17. And he said unto him, Why callest thou me good?
So Christ is saying, why are you calling me good? Keep reading for me.
There is none good but one, that is God.
So Christ is telling him there's only one that's good, and that's the Most High. You know that Christ was one hell of a brother.
Right.
Excuse my language, Baba Kusha. Keep going for me.
But if thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments.
So he's telling him, if you want to enter into life, you have to keep the commandments. So now we seeing Christ is telling them, Christ was even telling them, if you want to live, keep the commandments. The commandments is life.
Exactly.
So let's go to 1 John 2 and 3. Baba Kusha. You know, like the command, a lot of people, when they tell you we don't got to keep these commandments, it's absurd. Because it's like Christ was saying this is life, everything in the Bible shows you that this is life. It's just kind of like death if you don't keep them.
Mm-hmm. That's right. 1 John 2
and 3. Salaki.
This is the book of 1 John chapter 2 verse 3. And hereby we do know that we know him, if we keep his commandments.
Salaki. Oh, you good? You too. Read that again for me.
And hereby we do know him. And hereby we do know that we know him, if we keep his commandments.
So this is some criteria. John is showing you some criteria on how you know the Most High. So let's reread verse 3 again. He says, and hereby we do know him. So how do we know him? If we keep his commandments.
Exactly.
Now let's read the very next verse. He says, he that saith I know him and keepeth not his commandments is a liar. So if you going around saying God knows my heart, God knows my spirit, God's gonna forgive me for this, God's gonna forgive me for that, and you not keeping his commandments, he don't know you.
Exactly.
He don't know your heart. He don't know to forgive you for those sins. He don't know anything about you. Because you dead to him if you're not keeping the commandments, as we see in Christ said. So let's reread that for me. 1 John 2 and 3. Salaki.
This is the book of 1 John chapter 2 verse 3. And hereby we do know that we know him, if we keep his commandments.
Keep going.
He that saith I know him and keep not his commandments is a liar.
He's a what?
He's a liar. Is a liar.
He's a what?
Is a liar.
Keep reading.
And the truth is not in him.
You good?
But whosoever keepeth the word, in him verily is the love of God perfect.
Hereby know we that we are in him. So if anybody's going around telling you they know God and they're not telling you to keep the commandments as Christ did, as Christ went around and told you, the love of the Father is not in him. Right. Just as the good word right here says. Now, if I could, Baba Kushab, I get Romans 6 and 1. And right here, this is going to be Paul speaking. So Paul, he's going to let you know basically some of the things I was saying earlier on how we're under the grace, but we still have to keep the commandments. Let me know when somebody in the classroom got that from me.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 6, verse 1. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin, that grace may abound?
So right here, he's asking, what shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin, that grace may abound? Keep reading. Read the very next verse on what he said.
God forbid.
God what?
God forbid.
God what?
God forbid.
God forbid. So he forbids because we're under the grace for us to keep sinning. He forbids that because we was forgiven for things we did, for us to be allowed to keep doing it. He didn't die for us to not keep the commandments. That was the whole reason. That was the whole criteria. That was the whole chance that we was given. Keep reading that verse 2. Baba Kushab, if there's anything left in it.
How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer than therein?
What? All right.
Good.
You good?
And it's crazy that, you know what I mean, we're talking about the law right now. So we have a holiday coming up called Valentine's Day.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And so Valentine's Day is another illegal holiday that's outlawed by the Most High. Why? Because it is the worship of another god, mainly Cupid. And when the Romans used to keep this holiday, they had big giant, you know what I mean, excuse my language, orgies, you know what I mean, where how they would honor that god. You know what I mean? And the Most High told us not to follow after the oppressive ways.
Come.
I mean, so that's another way how we keep the laws of God. And any Christian out there that's going to keep Valentine's Day is breaking the law.
Just like I said, if they telling you they know him, but they ain't keeping his commandments, the love of the Father is not in them. So throughout a priest, that was a good. Let me get Romans 6:15 from somebody in the class, if you could.
This is the book.
Salakia, read the very verse before it, which is 14.
It's Romans chapter 6, verse 14. For sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace. What then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law, but under grace? God forbid.
So this is also tying back into the Romans 6:1, when they was asking, should we continue in sin because we're under the grace of the Lord? And just like they said in verse 2, God forbids it. And they're saying it again in verse 15, God forbids it. It's not like, okay, I'll give you a good analogy. It's not like if your parent give you a whooping and then allow you to go back outside, they're not telling you that you're not supposed to do what you did again. They're not telling you able to do that again. They're telling you, okay, I disciplined you. Now you're supposed to learn from that. Exactly. You're supposed to grow from that. You're not supposed to continue in sin. So, a lot of people forget that the Most High is a father. And, just like any father, he's not just going to keep beating on you, keep beating on you, keep beating on you. He's going to discipline you. And then that's going to be that. And if you don't listen and have a hard head, you're going to fall by the wayside. If you listen, though, he's going to guide you. So it's all about listening to what he laid out before us so that we don't have to keep taking that punishment. Okay.
Can I say something to that too as well, sir?
Come.
And also this verse, right? Like what people have to understand about grace, like grace is just a time period just to get it right. For example, when you're late on the payment, you have a grace period to pay the full amount before they cut that service off. You feel me? And that is just like with the Most High. He's giving us a grace period to get it right. It doesn't mean you can keep sinning. So you can't keep smoking weed. You can't keep having sex with whores. You can't keep being part of the LGBT community. You know what I mean? Just because we're under grace, this is just a time period for us to get it right. What?
That's right. Baba Bashab, somebody could pull Hebrews 10:26 for me? Because that's kind of tying into what you were saying. It's very heavy. Like, we hearing this truth and we hearing that, okay, we can't do this anymore. We can't be whoremongers. We can't be adulterers. We can't do these things anymore. So a lot of people will be like, okay, if you tell me what I'm supposed to do, am I still going to reap some of the punishments if I fail right away? So it's Hebrews 10:26 to clear up a lot of it.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 26. For if we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins.
So right here we see, if you continue to sin after you receive this truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice. Like, even if you look back in the old times when they did the sacrifices, that was for that sin. So if we keep sinning, there's no more sacrifice. So there's no more chances just giving and giving and giving. Baba Bashab, I get somebody to pull 1 John 3 and 4. Salakia.
The book of 1 John, chapter 3, verse 4. Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law. For sin is transgression of the law.
So what does transgression mean? Anybody? Anybody in the class?
Transgression means to break the laws of God, to break a law. You're a transgressor. You're a lawbreaker.
It's crazy. Like, why you think he didn't just say break it though? Like, what? Like, we just broke the laws instead of transgress. Well, instead, like, you see how you use transgress instead of we just broke it. Like, I wonder why you say that. Why you think?
I'm not sure.
Well, all right, let's say like this. I'll give you an analogy. Let's say like I had a sign that said no trespassing on my gate, and I beware a dog, and you still went and hopped that fence and got bit by my dog. Am I gonna get sued, or are you just gonna be hurt?
You was gonna be hurt because the sign, you can't sue nobody if you know that they
Right. You was given the rules and you still broke them.
right.
Just like transgression, like we was given the rules and we still broke them. A lot of people want to blame God for the condition they're in, when it's really our fault. Like think about it. If we was told by our Father what to do and what not to do, we was the only ones told what to do and what not to do. So we was told and we still broke it. We can't blame God. Exactly. We got to blame ourselves and just fix our problem.
Exactly.
You know, can I get 1 John 5:3, Salaki? Or Baba Kusha? Just or so.
Salaki, what was that one again?
1 John 5:3.
This is the book of 1 John, chapter 5, verse 3. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous.
Salaki, can you read that one more time for me?
For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous.
So this is the love of God. So when everybody tells you I love God,
right,
or God loves me, this is the love of God. They're not telling you we still got to keep these commandments. If they're not telling you, okay, I'm doing this, that's in the commandments, I'm keeping this commandment, I'm keeping this commandment, then the love of the Father is not in them.
Mm-hmm.
So just like we see in 1 John, it says, for this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments. So keeping his commandments is how you show God you love him. It's how you, just like anybody, like if your parents tell you to do something and you don't do it, and they've been giving you stuff all year, it's kind of like a spit in the face. It's kind of like a slap in the face. You know, it's you showing them you don't care about what all the things they're doing for you. You feel me? So it's kind of like no love. And you know, that's also why I say we are very stubborn people, because we tell everybody we love God and we don't show it. You know, like it's easy to say you love somebody, but the real task comes into when you got to show it. Like love is an action word.
Exactly.
All right, so yeah.
So can I say something on that too?
Come.
And also in the second part of the verse, I mean, John is letting you know that his commandments are not grievous either. Like these aren't hard tasks that we can't complete. You know what I mean? Because when you grow up in a Christian church, they always say that the law is too hard to follow. You know what I mean? How can we follow all the laws? So you gotta ask people, what law is hard to follow?
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, do you struggle with bestiality? I mean, are you struggling with incest? I mean, I'm pretty sure those are pretty common things that we know not to follow. And it's letting you know that these commandments are not grievous.
Not grievous at all. Because if you want to get in the kingdom and think that you still got to follow order, if I could get that, everything must be done orderly and decently. Because if you think it's not going to be order in the kingdom, you're sadly mistaken. Like it's an order within everything. Like everybody has a head, everybody has somebody they have to report to. Even in this world, people have superiors to where they still have to follow. Like a boss has a boss and a boss and a boss. So everybody has a superior.
So like, what was the verse?
This is the book of 1 Corinthians 14, verse 40. Let all things be done decently and in order.
So here we see there's order to everything. There's always going to be an order. There's always going to be somebody that you're reporting to. There's always going to be a head over you, just like at the head of every man is Christ, and at the head of every woman is her man. So You could anybody could quote. I think that's 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians at the head of every man. You know, everybody has somebody to where they have to report to. Like it's order in the kingdom. 1 Corinthians.
God, this is the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 11, verse 3. But I'll have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God.
So we see even Christ got a head, which is God. Even man has a head, which is Christ. Even woman has a head, which is her man. So everything is within order. So if we have to figure out how to govern ourselves, which would be the commandments. The commandments is coming back to the commandments is the only way we can live properly and find life. And I'm slacking on finding that figure out right now. Proverbs 21. Slacking, shooting up the hip now. I don't know the milk scriptures. All right, come. All right, Salakia. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 21, verse 21. He that followeth after righteousness and mercy findeth life, righteousness and honor. So that's basically tying into what I just said. And keeping these commandments and following after this order is how we find life again. It's how we live properly again. It's how we build up our nation. Because our nation right now is desolate. Our nation is fallen in we're scattered across all four corners of the world. Right. And in all four corners of the world, our nation is struggling. Like Zephaniah 2:1 says, gather yourself, O nation not desired. We're the nation that's not desired no matter where we go in the world, no matter what part of the world we sent to. And this is why we need to come back to each other. And this is why we need to stick together. Exactly. That's why brotherhood is really a weapon. That's why these commandments is our armor. Like, so if anybody could find that for me, the armor of the Lord. Ephesians 6:11. Do I? 1 second.
Con, this is the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 11. Finally, my brother, be strong in the Lord.
That's 10.
Oh, slide.
You two out there.
Continue to read. Be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Verse 11. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil.
So putting on this armor is the only way we're going to be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. And this armor that we putting on is the things that was written aforetime, the commandments, the things that we already do have, the truth. Like if you go to 1 Peter, so like I forget the verse, but it says our adversary, he's like a roaring lion. He's always out waiting for us to fail. Exactly. That's why keeping on the armor of the Lord, which is these commandments, is the only way we're going to flourish. Because the second we deviate from them, that's when we're going to fall. And that happens every time because we're not going to have the Lord with us. We're not going to have the Lord fighting our battles. Like if you go to Proverbs 28:9, if I could get somebody to read that for me, Salaki, or Baba Kushah, you'll see that if you turn your ear away from hearing this, the Lord is going to turn his ear away from hearing you.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 28, verse 9. He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be an abomination.
So, Baba Kushah, can you read that one more time for me?
The book of Proverbs, chapter 28 and verse 9. He that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be abomination.
So your prayer will be an abomination if you turn your ear from hearing the laws that the Lord told you. That's like if you ask your mother for something after she asked you for something and you didn't do it, 9 times out of 10, not gonna get it. Not gonna get it. So Baba Kushab, if I can get Baba Kushab, if I can get Deuteronomy 11 and 1.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 11, verse 1. Therefore thou shalt love the Lord thy God.
So as we just seen in 1 John 5:3, we know the love of the Lord is keeping the commandments. Right. We know the only way to show the Lord you love him is keeping the commandments. Baba Kushab, you could keep reading that verse for me.
And keep his charge.
Keep his charge.
And his statutes. And his judgments. And his commandments. Always.
How long?
Always.
Just a little bit?
Always.
Just for a little while?
Always.
So he's saying always. He's saying keep these commandments always, forever. Now, Baba Kushab, if you could read 11, Baba Kushab, if you could read 27 and 26, so I can. Deuteronomy 27 and 26.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 27, verse 26. Cursed be he that confirmeth not all the words of this law to do them, and all the people shall say, Amen.
Right. So you cursed if you're not keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments, like the Lord told us in the aforetime. So like the Lord been ordained for us to do. We was the only ones given the law. We was the only ones told what to do. Like if you go to Romans, the 9th chapter, you'll see. Baba Kushab, I can get somebody to read Romans 9 and 4. We'll see. Basically, we were the only ones given the law in the first place. We were the only ones who received the covenants. We were the only ones who received any promises from the Lord. So why not keep his commandments? Why not do what he said? We was the only ones who could do it in the first place.
Right. This is the book of Romans, chapter 9 and verse 4. Who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promises.
So we received everything: the law, the promises, the covenants, and the service of God. Exactly. So I mean, we the only ones who could keep it. So why not keep it? Why not teach to do it like Christ was saying in Matthew, the 5th chapter? And why not teach to be great in the kingdom instead of teach to be least in the kingdom? You know, like, because these Christian churches, these Muslim mosques, they're not teaching you to be great when the kingdom arrives. They're not teaching you to be a prince of power. They're not teaching you to be who you really are. Like, we don't have our identity. We're the only ones that it was stripped from us. So this is why coming back to these commandments is how we find ourselves again. Like, think about it. Like, think about it. We follow everybody else's commandments, which would be considered the commandments of men, instead of following the commandments of God.
Exactly. You could, and what you bring out is heaven, especially when you compare this to the scripture brought up before, like in Matthew 5 and 17, where it said that if you teach the commandments and you teach people not to do them, you're going to be least in the commandment. You'll be least in the kingdom. But if you teach people and you do them, you're going to be great in the kingdom of heaven. So essentially, there's two groups of people. You know what I mean? The Christians really want you to be the least in the kingdom. You know what I mean? And we're already the least in the kingdom.
Right.
So in the next kingdom, we're going to teach people to do the commandments so we can all be great. So we don't have to be on the bottom anymore. So we don't have to be, you know what I mean, unalived by police officers, unalived by the doctors, you know what I mean? Used as medical experiments. We don't have to go through slavery yet again. This is why it's important to keep the law.
Yeah, that's heavy. That's heavy. Baba Kushab, anybody can read Deuteronomy 6 and 25 for me?
What was that on again?
Deuteronomy 6 and 25.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verse 25. And this shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord God, as he commanded us, as he had commanded us.
Baba Kushab, read that one more time.
God. And this shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God, as he hath commanded us.
So this shall be our righteousness, to do and keep the commandments, as the Lord thy God hath commanded us. This is going to be our righteousness. This is going to be how we come back to flourishing, how we come back to power, how we come back to rulership. This is going to be how we build our kingdom and how we keep our kingdom.
Okay.
Now, Baba Kushab, if I can get Matthew's or Slakia, Slakia, can I get Matthew 5 and 6? And then can I get somebody else to pull Luke 1 and 6?
The book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 6. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Verse 7. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Verse 10. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Verse 12. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you.
So as we see, if we continue to be righteous, the Lord will fight our battles. If we continue to be righteous, the Lord will fight with us. If we continue to be righteous, the Lord will bring us from our lowest state. If I can get that other verse, I'll pull Luke 1 and 6. Probably Kushab.
Kind of, but if I could real
You
quick,
good?
this verse these verses that you're bringing out in Matthew 5 are so heavy, because this is a perfect parallel with, brothers in ISUPK go through, on a daily, persecuted falsely, for things that we have done, have not done, even, to the extent of lying on us at the past. So I think I had brought this up before in one of my classes, a while back. They were saying that, we were having, a sacrifice of a lamb at the black party.
Yeah.
Like they were saying that pretty much, we were doing stuff, to kind of say that we were worshiping something that had nothing to do with God. Because that sounds satanic to kill a goat at a party. That sounds satanic. Like that sounds a little weird.
Yeah, it does sound.
But, as time goes by, it's a good thing that we are, persecuted and reviled, because they can see the difference between us, the Christian church, the Democrats, the Republicans, the LGBTQ, and all the other members, of this lifestyle that is pretty much the same thing, because that's all it is. That's why we're separated from them. That's why we get persecuted, because we actually follow the laws, statutes, and commandments. That's why.
You got that verse I pulled. Well, and that was definitely heavy what you just pulled, because we're gonna continue to suffer, because a lot of people believe suffering is bad, but it's not, because Christ suffered. And if we suffer with Christ, we shall reign with Christ. Exactly. About push out might be that verse.
This is the book of Luke, chapter 1 and verse 6. And they were both righteous before God, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of the Lord blameless.
So, just as we seen the priest pull in the previous verse, that being our righteousness is what's going to save us. As we see right here in Luke, he's saying, and they were both righteous before God, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of the Lord blameless. So if we walk in the ordinances of the Lord and the commandments of God, all the things we did in our past will be washed away. And that's the only way to wash them away, is the word. That's the washing of the water that the scriptures was talking about. That's actually being baptized with the word. Exactly. It's when you change. It's when you hear the truth and you change from the lies. Exactly. So, Baba Bashar, if I can get Matthew 25 and 35, Baba Bashar.
Sorry, you don't mind.
You too, so I'll just explain what's you about to read.
The book of Matthew, chapter 25 and verse 35. For I was in hunger, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink.
24 and 35.
24 and 35. The book of Matthew, chapter 24 and verse 35.
Come.
The book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 35. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away.
Baba Bashar, I can get that one more time.
Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away.
So here we seeing the words of the Lord won't even pass when heaven and earth pass away. We see the words of the Lord gonna abide forever. Baba Bashar, anybody could pull? I'm trying to think where I can find this. James 1 and 22. Baba Bashar, everybody. Take a pull there.
James 1 and
22.
This is the book of James, chapter 1, verse 22. But be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. Verse 23. For if any...
So we see he's saying be doers of the word and not only hearers. So don't only hear what the word is saying, but do it. Baba Bashar,
for if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man holding his natural face in a glass.
so if you ain't doing it and you just hearing it, you like a man holding his face in a natural glass. You like somebody who yeah, and these scriptures is crazy. I'll pull you a parallel. Go to Romans 2 and 13. And read the verse right ahead of that for me, which will be Romans 2 and 12. Baba Kushaf.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 2 and verse 12.
Come.
For as many as have sinned without law shall also perish without law.
So if you sinning without the law, you're gonna perish without the law. If you living without this law, you're gonna perish without this law. Baba Kushaf, you could keep reading.
And as many as have sinned in the law shall be judged by the law.
So if just like we read in Hebrews, if you receive this knowledge and continue to sin, there remaineth no sacrifice. The only thing that remaineth is judgment. Just as we see in Romans 2:12, it says, for as many, Salakia, it says, and as many have sinned in the law shall be judged by the law. So if you was given this law and you still transgressed it, you're going to be judged by the law. And Baba Kushab, you read the very next verse.
Verse 13. For not the hearers of the law are just before God.
So not just hearing this law gonna make you just, but what?
But the doers of the law.
So the doers of the law shall be justified. So if you hearing and doing this law, if you hearing these commandments and keeping these commandments, you are gonna be the one who's gonna be justified. If you hearing and keeping these commandments and teaching these commandments, you will be who's great in the kingdom, as Christ said.
Exactly.
So
It's like, and if I could, you know what I mean? And I brought this up earlier in the class. You know what I mean? Valentine's Day is coming up. So we're going to see how many people are going to be keeping this law. You know what I mean?
That's
how many
right.
people are going to be pressured by their woman to celebrate this holiday? You know, and how many women is going to pressure their men? So if you're in this class right now, just know that you'll be breaking the law this Friday, right? The Friday's the 14th, right? This Friday, when Valentine's Day comes around and your woman is asking you for like boxes of chocolates, you know what I mean? She want a teddy bear. And just for y'all to do the same activities you do anyway, if they celebrate that holiday this day, they are a transgressor according to the Most High.
that's right. That's right. So if you as you heard the priest, if you keeping the commandments of men, you're going to be a transgressor. But if you keeping the commandments of God in these times, you will be great when the kingdom arrives. Baba Kushab, I can get anybody to read Deuteronomy 10 and 12. And right here, this verse is heavy. This is a very heavy verse right here. Let me know when y'all got that. But basically, it's going to show what us as Yasharala, what us as Israel, what we need to be doing. This is going to be showing you the criteria of the ways we need to be walking in, of the things we need to be doing, and the things we need to be keeping. Baba Kushah, when you got that, when you ready.
Khan, this is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 10, verse 12.
Khan.
And now, Israel, what doeth the Lord thy God require of thee?
So now we seeing what the Lord requires. You good, you twop.
But to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul.
You ready? Next verse.
Verse 13. To keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good.
So now we see this is what the Lord is requiring of us. And remember how I said before the verse was read, this is only required from Yasharala. This is only required from Israel. So Baba Kushah, read 12 and 13 for me one more time.
Verse 12. And now, Israel, what doeth the Lord thy God require of thee? But to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul.
Right. So this is how you serve the Lord. This is how you show the Lord you love him. This is how you show the Lord you're a good child. This is how you show the Lord that you're obedient to him, by keeping the commandments, keeping the things he told you to do, keeping the things that he ordained for us as Israel to do. Baba Kushah, if you could keep reading that verse for me.
Verse 13. To keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good.
So this is for our good. This is so we can survive. keeping his commandments. Baba Kushab, if anybody could read Revelations 22 and 14.
Khan, this is the book of Revelations, chapter 22 and verse 13. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last.
Next verse.
Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. Verse 15. For without
You two are. You good.
And this is something that I want, us brothers to do, as soon as we get the chance. Like I see a lot of brothers in the UPK will go around and they ask people questions and get involved with the community. But I want to ask people that are Christians, when they see verses like this, because you bringing up some heavy verses. You brought up the one that says not only the hearers of the law, but also the doers of the law are justified. I'm paraphrasing. Then you bring up this one that says, blessed are they that do his commandments. You brought up like 3 verses that are parallels, and all of them are in the New Testament. Mm-hmm. So my question is to Christians, what is their answer to this when they say that the law is done away with, which of course is a misunderstanding, but what is their answer? Because have you ever asked anybody that question?
And it's crazy you saying that, because they'll tell you we still got to keep the commandment of paying tithes, right. But this is a commandment from the Old Testament. So why are we keeping these commandments but not all the commandments? It's right. Just kind of like derogatory. We kind of picking and choosing what we want to do, right. And that's not the love of the Father, as we see the scriptures are saying. Right. So that's kind of heavy. You pulled that up, the water. And Salaki, I'm searching for this verse. I just had it too. Salaki. And it's crazy, like even us as Baba Kushab, I get somebody to go to Acts 24 and 14. Because us as prophets and priests, and even if you're not a priest and prophet, even if you're just a trooper, a young man, a young woman, or just Yasharala, if you Israel, we have to believe that this is our hope. We have to believe that this is our salvation. We have to believe that this is how we build our kingdom back up. Because without this, we're going to perish, just as we've seen in Romans. For as many have lived without it, shall perish without it. And for as many have lived with it, we're going to be judged by it. So this is the only way that we build our kingdom up and keep it up. Because without these laws, eventually, sometime down the line, our kingdom will fall, because we're going to fall back into the same doings if we don't abide by what God told us what to do in the first place. Like our ways, that's why I say lean not unto thine own understanding, because our ways is what got us into this. His ways is what's going to get us out of it. Baba Kushab, when you ready with that verse,
Acts.
Acts 24 and 14.
The book of Acts, chapter 24 and verse 14. But this I confess unto thee, that after that, that after the way which they call heresy, so worship I the God of my fathers, believing all things which are written in the law and in the prophets.
So we have to believe everything that's written aforetime by the prophets. These are written for our understanding and our learning. If anybody, Baba Kushab, got that, things written aforetime is for our learning and understanding. I forget where that's at. Salaki.
Come. This is Romans chapter 15 and verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope.
So through comfort of the scriptures, through comfort of the commandments, this is how we find our hope. This is how we find our truth. This is how we find righteousness. Baba Kushab, if somebody could read Psalms 119 and 142.
Psalms 119
and 142. And then if I could get somebody else to pull Revelations 14 and 12.
This is Psalms 119 and 142. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is thy truth.
So the law is our truth. That's the only truth we have. The law, statutes, and commandments. That's the only thing that we have to come back to. Like without the law, statutes, and commandments, we don't got anything. Without the law, statutes, and commandments, we aren't anything, because the only thing that makes us separate is the law, statutes, and commandments. Exactly. Because we was the only ones given the law, statutes, and commandments out of all the nations in the Bible. There's 18 nations in the Bible, and there was only one who received instructions from God, and that's Yasharala, Israel, us, blacks, Hispanics, and Native men. Got that other verse from me, Baba Bashar, anybody?
What you call
Revelations 22. Salakia, it wasn't 22. It was hold on. Salakia, just pull Psalm 78 and 5 for me. And then the other verse I pulled was Revelations 22 and 14.
Khan, this is Psalm 78 and verse 5. For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children.
So this is tradition. Like, this is what we're supposed to be passing down to our kids, just as our forefathers passed down to us. These are the ordinances of God. These are the things that we have to give to our next generation. Right. Baba Kushab, if anybody got that next verse for me, which is Revelations 22 and 14. This is going to show you, Slaki, before you read that, this is going to show you how we get into the kingdom of heaven. This is going to show you how we see the glorious things that was promised to our fathers, just as we seen in the previous verse I read. Baba Kushab, before you read that, can I get Kash, can you read that verse for me one more time?
Go back to it.
Yeah, I could read it if you want.
No, I got it.
All right, do I?
78 verse 5.
This is Psalm 78 and verse 5. For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children.
So here we see that we were supposed to make these laws, statutes, and commandments known to our children, because without them, guess what? Without them, our children may have went and played with little Billy and let little Billy marry. So without these laws, statutes, and commandments, we don't know how to govern ourselves. We don't know how to act, basically. So, and without them, there's no way we're going to get into the kingdom of heaven, as we get ready to see in Revelations 22 and 14. Baba Kushab, I get that.
The book of Revelation, chapter 22, verse 14. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city.
Baba Kushab, can I get that one more time?
God. Revelation, chapter 22, verse 14. Blessed are they that do his commandments, they that may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city.
So this is how we will enter into the gates in the city, in the kingdom. This is how we get there, keeping the commandments, the laws, statutes, and commandments. It's like it. And Baba Kushab, I get Revelations 14 and 12. And if you consider yourself to be a saint, if you consider yourself to be righteous, if you consider yourself to be separate, which is holy, If you consider yourself to be different from everybody else, you know, everybody else always want to say, I ain't like everybody else, I'm different. So if you consider yourself to be different, keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. If you consider yourself to be a saint, keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. That's how you show God at least that you different. That's how you show God at least that you righteous. That's how you show God at least that you good. Baba Kushab, I get that?
Revelations 14:12.
Come.
The book of Revelations, chapter 14, verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Yahushua.
So here we seeing, if we, and it's crazy, Salaki, not to get too off track, but it's crazy how that verse says, Baba Kushab, read that one more time for me.
The book of Revelations, chapter 14, verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Yahushua.
So here we seeing, if we keep the faith of Yahushua and the ordinances of God, this is how we meet the criteria of being a saint. And even in this verse, it's crazy how it said the faith of Yahushua and the ordinances of God. We see in there separate. Christ is not God. Even in the other verse we pull, we see Christ has a head, which is God. So even Christ taught we got to keep the laws of God. So this is the criteria of being a saint. If you consider yourself to be different, if you consider yourself to be separate, this is how you show it. This is how you show you not like everybody else. As as Kendrick would say, they not like us. Exodus 26. Slack, let me check this verse out real quick. All right. Baba Gashab, I get somebody to read Exodus 20:6. And before you read that, I know a lot of people say, God will forgive me. God will save me. God will help me. This right here is the only way he will do that for you. This right here is the only way he will help you. This is the only way he will save you. This is the only way he will forgive you. And that's Exodus 20:6. And this is actually the only way he's going to show mercy on you. Got that?
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 20, verse 6. And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. 7. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless. Guiltless that taketh his name in vain.
So if you taking the Lord's name in vain, he's not going to hold you guiltless. Just as we seen in the verse ahead, how he's going to forgive thousands and thousands and thousands. He may not forgive you if you taking his name in vain. He may not forgive you if you're not keeping his command. Well, let me not say he may. He's not going to forgive you if you're not keeping his commandments. And that's just flat out. So if we go back to if we go back to Matthew's 5 and Slakia. Yeah, Matthew 5 and 17. Go back to Matthew 5 and 17 for a second. Because I just want to show y'all, Christ, he never taught to break the commandments. Christ never taught that he came to do away with the commandments. Christ never taught that they was done with. Christ taught that they still here and they're gonna abide until heaven and earth pass. As we see, that hasn't happened. It's not happening no time soon. So the commandments is still here and they're gonna stay here. Baba Kushai, you can read that when you're ready.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 17.
And read down to 19 when you're done with 17.
Come. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and the earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled.
Till all be fulfilled. So we see till it's all fulfilled, not one jot or one tittle. So not one thing will pass from the law until it's all fulfilled. Yeah. And you know, a lot of people want to say, oh, he already fulfilled it, but how he fulfill it if he ain't come back yet? You know? So Salaki, if I can get Jeremiah 31 and 33. Because there's going to come a time where we don't need these books. There's going to come a time where the law, statutes, and commandments is written on our hearts, on our minds to just do it. It's going to be first nature. It's going to be a time when the kingdom's here where we're not going to have to be, I don't want to say we're not going to have to be still teaching our brothers and sisters that we got to keep these commandments, because we're always going to have to do that. But there's going to come a time where it's going to be first nature to do it. There's going to come a time where it's going to be weird if you're not doing it. There's going to come a time where you're going to be the odd man out if you're not keeping the commandments. There's going to come a time where if these commandments aren't being held and kept, that you will be the one perishing. And I mean, that time is very near. The kingdom is near. Exactly. Baba Kushai, you got that verse for me?
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 31 and verse 33. But it shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith the Lord, I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people.
Baba Kushai, can I get that one more time?
Khan, the book of Jeremiah, chapter 31 and verse 33. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel.
So this is a covenant, and it was made only with the house of Israel. You what?
After those days, saith the Lord, I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people.
So this is how we be his people, and not just anybody could be his people, because as we see, this is the covenant that was made with Israel. Exactly. So he's showing you that Israel, if you keep his commandments, you will be his people, because there's Baba Gashab, I get that verse that says not even though we all Yasharala, we not all gonna be the Most High's people. Right. It's like I got the Romans 9 throughout the life. Because a lot of people believe that just being Yasharala will save you, but just being Israel won't just save you. You have to keep the law, statutes, and commandments because you're Israel, because you're not them, because you're not every other nation. You have to be separate. You don't even go through the same things these other nations go through. You don't have the same luxury these other nations have. And I mean, I don't want to say that, because our luxury is a little bit better. We get to keep the commandments. We get a choice. We get an opportunity to be God's people, his chosen people. Baba Shah, when you ready?
The book of Romans, chapter 9, verse 6. Not as though the word of God had taken none effect, for they are not all Israel, which are of Israel.
So just as you see, this is why in Jeremiah, he's showing, the Lord says, this is how you be his people, which is keeping the commandments. Because once we see back in Romans, just because you Yasharala don't mean you Yasharala. Just because you Israel don't mean you going to get saved. Exactly. Not all of Israel will be saved. Right. So, you know, just like Hosea, Baba Shab, I get Hosea 4 and 6. You know, Hosea 4 and 6 is heavy because a lot of us, we perish because of this very thing right here. This very thing that we miss.
Come on, this is Hosea chapter 4 and verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
For lack of what?
Of knowledge.
For lack of what?
Knowledge.
So as you see, we are destroyed because we lack knowledge. We lack critical thinking. When a problem is put in front of me, I can handle it because I have the law, statutes, and commandments, because I have rules, because I have people ahead of me and over me who guide me in the right direction of being righteous. So I can critically handle issues. Everybody can't critically solve problems. Now, why is that? Because just like in Hosea, it's showing you our people lack knowledge. Baba Kushab, I get that verse one more time.
Come. This is Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God.
Damn right.
I will also forget thy children.
So, as you see, the condition we're living in today is because our forefathers forgot the ways and the ordinances of God. So now we was forgotten, just as you seen in the scriptures. And these laws, statutes, and commandments is the only way we could come back to being in rulership. This is our wisdom. And it's a precept I'm gonna pull that I'm looking for that shows that the law is our wisdom. The law is our. Can I get Proverbs 6:3, Baba Kushab?
Khan, this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 6 and verse 3. Do this now, my son, and deliver thyself. When thou art coming to the hand of thy friend, go, humble thyself, and make sure thy friend.
It's like it.
It's like something different.
Yeah, it's like
What's
it.
what's the phrase?
The law is a lamp. Is our light.
So I got that verse where it's talking about where this is our wisdom, and I understand that if you look at that.
Yeah, it's like it. Baba Kushab.
This is Psalms 119 and 105.
So these commandments is our wisdom. The law, statutes, and commandments is how we are smarter than everybody else.
Damn right.
This shows how we know more than the ancients. This shows how we know more than the people around us.
Right.
This shows how we could be better while we are superior. As you see on my shirt, Deuteronomy 7:6, we're superior.
Talk to them.
We're better than everybody else.
Right.
This the only way that we come back to our kingdom, our ways, our God. So Baba Kushab, I get that verse.
Khan. Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 6. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people.
As you see, all the nations of the world will turn to us one day to get our knowledge, to get our wisdom, which is really not even our knowledge and wisdom. It's the wisdom of our Father, Yahweh, Salaki. I'm going to say Yahweh Shah, Yahweh. Salaki. Yahweh Shah is our brother and our king. And Baba Kushab, I get that other verse.
The book of Psalms, chapter 119 and verse 105. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path.
And we know, just as we read in Isaiah 8:20, that light is the law, statutes, and commandments. That lamp is us letting our light so shine before men, as Christ said in Matthew 5:16. Right. We know that this is how we shine brighter than all the other nations. This is how we shine brighter than everybody on the face of the earth.
Damn right.
Baba Kushab, if I could get Deuteronomy 7:6 to show we not like them. So we have to act that way. We have to be this way. We have to keep the ordinances of God.
7:6.
Come.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God have chosen thee to be a special people unto himself.
Right.
Above all people that are on the face of the earth.
Above all people that are on the face of the earth. So we're above them. And just as we heard the priest read, at a point in time, the other nations will turn to us to get our wisdom and our understanding, which is not our wisdom and our understanding. It's the wisdom of the Lord. So this is why we need to be sharp. This is why we need to hold fast to the things we already have, which is the truth. This is why we need to keep the ordinances of God, keep the laws, statutes, and commandments, and turn back to our ways, our culture, our God. Any questions in the room? Any questions on the chat? All right, with that being said, I'm gonna pass the class over to Precinct Officer Makawar.
This is the ISUPK security announcements, rules for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to learn and rid themselves of the world. If they need transportation, a teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, they are to seek counsel from the heads. Tithes, which is a commandment, Numbers 18:21 and Malachi 3:8-10. Ma'ajra, which means 10th in Hebrew, 10th of every penny or increase that the Lord gives you. Priest funds or teacher funds, they are they're not mandatory, but you could free will often, whatever's on your heart you can give. High holy convocations is the Feast of Purim, which is March 13th. March 13th, right here, 202 North DuPont Highway.
That's right.
Man, woman, child, get here, we'll be here. If any brother wants to be a trooper, start wearing all black boots, headband, scarf. With that being said, men of Israel, means to stand. Men of Israel, I'm going to give a courteous salute. Amajah Shabbat, Amajah, Barak, Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shah, Barak, Yahweh Tom is down. Sar, turn to the sisters. Sisters Amajah, you stand. Men of Israel, Amajah Shabbat, Amajah, Barak, Yahweh, Yahweh Tom, Yahweh Shah, Yahweh Tom, class permission.